I learned two things in the first 5 seconds after my mother grabbed the microphone. One, she was drunk enough to be honest. Two, whatever she was about to say wasn't meant for me. The music cut off mid-beat, a squeal of feedback ripping through the backyard speakers. Everyone turned, forks paused halfway to mouths, phones tilted up, already recording. The fairy lights strung across the oak tree glowed warm and forgiving, like they were trying to soften what was coming. My mother laughed into the mic, that sharp, wine-soaked laugh I'd known my whole life. "Well," she said, dragging the word out, "I just want to say how proud I am that at least one of my daughters knew how to do life right." A ripple of chuckles passed through the crowd. I froze with my champagne glass halfway to my lips. She didn't look at me. She never did when she said things like that. Her eyes were locked on my sister, glowing in white lace, standing beside her fiancé like she'd stepped straight out of a Pinterest board. "Some people chase careers," my mother continued, waving her free hand vaguely, "and some people build families. And tonight, we're celebrating the daughter who chose love over, well, paperwork." Laughter, louder this time. My throat burned. I swallowed hard, my jaw locking so tight it ached. I'm Harper Collins. I'm 29 years old, and I was standing at my little sister's engagement party, realizing, again, that no matter how much I accomplished, I would always be the punchline. The backyard of my parents' Connecticut colonial looked like a wedding magazine threw up all over it. White folding chairs, linen-draped tables, a catered bar with a chalkboard menu listing signature cocktails named after my sister and her fiancé. The Lily Spritz, the Mark Hatton. Of course. Lily Collins, my younger sister by 3 years, the golden child, the miracle baby, the girl who could spill juice on the carpet and get hugged for it, while I once got grounded for an entire summer for B+ in chemistry. She stood there now, manicured hand pressed to her chest, pretending to be overwhelmed. Her diamond ring caught the string lights and threw sparks everywhere. She looked perfect. She always did. Mark leaned down and kissed her temple. The crowd awed on cue. My mother raised her glass. "To Lily and Mark, proof that you don't need to overthink life to win at it." The toast ended in applause. I didn't clap. I couldn't. I stood there, feeling like I'd been shoved backward through time, back to every dinner where my law school acceptance letter sat unopened while Lily's cheer trophy got passed around, back to every holiday where someone asked when I was going to settle down instead of "what case are you working on now?" I took a slow breath, forcing my face into something neutral, not smiling, not crying, just contained. Years of practice had made that second nature. Someone brushed past me. "Rough toast," a woman murmured under her breath. I turned. It was Mark's aunt. I'd met her exactly once. She gave me a sympathetic look. "You're the lawyer, right?" I said, automatically. She nodded. "Figures. You look like the smart one." Before I could respond, Lily was suddenly in front of me, bouquet in hand, cheeks flushed. "Harper, you okay?" Her voice was syrupy sweet, but her eyes were sharp, searching my face for cracks. "I'm fine," I said. She laughed lightly. "You're so quiet tonight. You didn't even try to grab the mic. Shocking." I stared at her. Why would I? She tilted her head, pretending innocence. "I don't know. I figured you'd want to say something. You always have something to say." That was Lily. She could insult you with a smile and make you feel crazy for noticing. "I'm good," I repeated. "Well," she said, lowering her voice, "try not to make this about you tonight, okay? This is kind of my moment." I almost laughed. Almost. Instead, I took a sip of champagne. It tasted expensive and empty. "I wouldn't dream of it," I said. She squeezed my arm, just hard enough to be patronizing. "I knew you'd understand." Then she floated away, immediately surrounded by friends, laughter trailing behind her like confetti. I stood there alone, my mother already moving on to hug relatives, basking in praise like she'd just delivered the speech of the year. No one came to check on me. Not my dad, who was busy talking to Mark's father about golf. Not my aunt, who once told me I was intimidating. Not a single cousin. Why would they? I was the reliable one, the stable one, the one who didn't need anything. I drifted toward the edge of the yard, past the dance floor, toward the quieter side near the fence. The night air was cool, and for a second I let my shoulders drop. I thought about my job, about the contract I finalized at 2 in the morning just last week, about the merger I helped close that made my firm millions, about the fact that I paid my own rent, my own bills, my own life without asking anyone for a damn thing. None of it mattered here. Here, I was just Lily's older sister, the one who chose paperwork. My phone buzzed in my hand. A text. Unknown number. Harper Collins, this is Daniel Wright. Mark's father gave me your number. Do you have a minute? I frowned. Another buzz before I could reply. Daniel Wright, I wanted to thank you. In person would be better, but tonight's been chaotic. My stomach tightened. Thank me? For what? I typed back, sure, I'm outside by the fence. Less than a minute later, a tall man in a navy blazer approached me, spanning the yard until his eyes landed on me. He smiled, relieved. Harper, hi. Hi, I said cautiously. He won't take much of your time. I just wanted to say, I finally read the documents you sent over. My heart skipped. You did? Yes, he said, nodding. Every word. And frankly, I don't know how we would have pulled this off without you. The noise from the party felt suddenly very far away. I'm glad it helped, I said carefully. He laughed. Helped? You saved us from a lawsuit that would have destroyed the company. I opened my mouth to respond, but he kept going. I mentioned to my wife earlier, if tonight were really about celebrating success, he glanced back toward the crowd, we'd be raising a glass to you. My chest tightened. He met my eyes, serious now. We should talk, soon. There's an opportunity I think you'd be perfect for. The fairy lights flickered above us. Music swelled again in the background. Laughter echoed. And for the first time that night, something inside me shifted. I didn't know yet that this conversation would change everything. I just knew that somewhere between my mother's toast and this moment, the story everyone thought they were telling about me had started to crack. I didn't tell anyone about that conversation. Not my parents, not Lily, not even my best friend back in Boston. I stayed for another 40 minutes after Daniel walked away, long enough to look supportive, long enough to avoid suspicion, long enough to prove, yet again, that I knew how to disappear in plain sight. I hugged Lily when she came by for the 5th time, already tipsy, already glowing. So happy for you, I said, and this time it didn't even feel like a lie. I was happy for her, or at least I was done being angry about her. That's what shocked me most. The anger was gone. In its place was something quieter, sharper, like clarity. I left early. No one noticed. That night, back in my 1-bedroom apartment in Stamford, I kicked off my heels, poured myself a glass of cheap red wine, and sat on the floor with my back against the couch. My phone buzzed again. Daniel Wright. Tomorrow morning. Coffee. No pressure. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I typed, tomorrow works. I barely slept. Not because I was excited, though I was, but because my brain kept replaying my mother's voice through the microphone. At least one of my daughters knew how to do life right. I wondered if she'd ever hear how wrong she was. The next morning, I met Daniel at a cafe in Greenwich that smelled like burnt espresso and money. He didn't waste time. You know Mark's family owns Wright and Hale Industries, he said, stirring his coffee. Manufacturing, logistics, the boring stuff that keeps everything else alive. I nodded. I knew. I'd known before Lily ever brought Mark home. I'd done my homework the way Lily never did. We're restructuring, expanding into new markets, which means we need someone who understands contracts, compliance, negotiation, but who also understands people. He looked at me over the rim of his mug. You. I didn't smile. I didn't pretend to be shocked. I already have a job, I said. Yes, and you're underpaid. That made me laugh, a real laugh. He slid a folder across the table. I'm not asking you to quit today. I'm asking you to consider stepping into a role where you won't be background noise. I opened the folder. The salary number made my stomach flip. The title made my pulse spike. Director of Strategic Operations. I closed it slowly. Does Lily know about this? Daniel shook his head. No, and frankly, this isn't about her. I nodded. Good, because if there was one thing I wasn't going to do, it was turn my life into a reaction to my sister. I went back to work that Monday like nothing had changed. Same office, same glass conference rooms, same casual sexism dressed up as compliments. You're so calm under pressure, Harper, one partner said. You'd make a great wife. I smiled tightly and kept typing. By Wednesday, my mother called. I just wanted to check in, she said, voice light, suspiciously sweet. Okay. You left early Saturday. Yes. Well, Lily was upset. She thought you were mad. I wasn't. Silence stretched. You could have stayed longer, my mother said. People notice those things. I bit the inside of my cheek. Whose people? She sighed. You know what I mean. No, I said calmly, I don't. Another pause. Anyway, she said, shifting gears, Mark's parents are very influential. It wouldn't hurt for you to be more visible. There it was. I leaned back in my chair. Why? So people don't get the wrong impression. And what impression is that? That you're difficult. I laughed. I couldn't help it. Oh, she snapped. What's so funny? I've spent my whole life being invisible, I said. Now you're worried I look difficult? She didn't respond. Listen, she said finally, we're all very happy for Lily. I know, I said. And we want you to be happy too. I closed my eyes. You never wanted that. That's not fair. No, I said quietly. It's accurate. I hung up before she could argue. 2 weeks passed. I negotiated my exit package with my firm like a chess match. Calm, precise, no emotion. When I handed in my resignation, one partner blinked like I'd slapped him. You're leaving? He said. But you're such a team player. I smiled. Exactly. The news traveled fast. By the time Lily found out, it was already too late. She called me screaming. What did you do? She demanded. I changed jobs. To Mark's company? Her voice cracked. Are you kidding me? I'm not working for Mark, I said. I'm working with his father. You did this to embarrass me. No, I said evenly. You're embarrassed because you've built your life on how things look instead of what they are. She went quiet. You think you're better than me? She said finally. I think, I replied, that I'm done shrinking so you can feel tall. She hung up. The engagement dinner a month later was tense. I arrived alone, dressed simply. No labels, no performance. Lily didn't look at me once. My parents avoided me like I was contagious. Mark kept glancing my way. During dessert, his mother leaned toward me. Daniel speaks very highly of you. I smiled politely. That's kind of him. He says you're indispensable. Across the table, Lily's fork clattered against her plate. My mother shot me a warning look. I met it calmly. For the first time in my life, I didn't need their approval. I didn't want it. I was already building something solid, something real. When the dinner ended, Daniel clinked his glass. One more thing, he said. I'd like to officially welcome Harper to the leadership team. Applause broke out. Lily stared at her hands. My mother looked stunned. And in that moment, I realized something that made my chest ache, not with pain, but with freedom. I hadn't taken Lily's place. I'd stepped into my own. And the toast that night, it wasn't for the bride-to-be. It was for the daughter no one had bothered to see, until she stopped asking to be seen. The wedding planning fallout was messier than anyone expected. It started small. Passive-aggressive comments, group chats I wasn't included in, conversations that went quiet the moment I walked into a room. My mother developed a sudden headache every time my name came up. My father stuck to his favorite move, pretending none of it was happening. Lily, though? Lily unraveled. She didn't scream or cry. That would have required vulnerability. Instead, she did what she always did when she felt threatened. She tried to control the narrative. I heard about it from a cousin first. "She says you manipulated Mark's dad," my cousin whispered over the phone like she was sharing classified intel. "Like you slid your way into the job on purpose." I snorted. "Of course she does." "She also said you're jealous." That one stung, even though I knew better. Jealousy was easy. It was lazy. It let people avoid asking harder questions, like why Lily needed to lie to feel important, or why my success only counted when it benefited someone else. At work, things were moving fast, too fast for Lily to keep up with. I sat in conference rooms where my opinions shaped real decisions. I signed off on contracts that affected thousands of employees. I worked late not because I had to prove anything, but because the work mattered, because it felt good to be trusted. Daniel treated me like an equal, not like his future son-in-law's sister, not like the smart one in a condescending way, just capable. One afternoon, after a brutal negotiation call, he leaned back in his chair and said, "You know, I offered this role to 2 other candidates before you." I raised an eyebrow. "And?" He said, "They both wanted credit. You wanted responsibility. That's the difference." I carried that with me. Lily, meanwhile, started slipping. She missed planning meetings, showed up late, snapped at Mark in public. The glow everyone adored began to flicker. People noticed. They always do, eventually. The breaking point came during the rehearsal dinner. My parents had booked a private room at a waterfront restaurant. White tablecloths, soft lighting, expensive wine. Everything curated to look perfect. I was seated across from Lily. Bad choice. She spent most of the night pretending I didn't exist. When she did acknowledge me, it was with thin smiles and pointed comments. "Must be nice," she said loudly at one point, "to have a job handed to you." The table went quiet. Mark stiffened beside her. My mother inhaled sharply, preparing to intervene. I set my fork down slowly. "Nothing was handed to me," I said evenly, "and you know that." Lily laughed. "Oh, please. Dad, tell her." My father cleared his throat. "Let's not do this." "No," Lily said, eyes shining, voice sharp. "I want to. She's been undermining me since day one." I felt something inside me settle. Not anger, resolution. "Lily," I said calmly, "you invited me to this dinner. If you want me gone, say it." Her mouth opened, closed. My mother jumped in. "Of course we want you here." "Then let's stop pretending, because I'm done playing the villain in a story where I've done nothing wrong." Silence pressed in. Mark finally spoke. "What are you talking about?" Lily whipped toward him. "Don't." "No," he said firmly. "I think I should hear it." I looked at him. Really looked. He wasn't stupid. He just liked comfort, liked not rocking boats. Ask Lily why she's been telling people I sabotaged her. Ask her why she's been calling me jealous when I've supported her for years. Lily stood up so fast her chair scraped loudly against the floor. "You're doing this on purpose. You always do. You make everything about you." I stood too. My voice didn't rise. "No," I said. "I stopped letting you make everything about you." That was it. She burst into tears. Real ones this time. My mother rushed to her side. "Harper, look what you've done." I looked around the table, at the guests who wouldn't meet my eyes, at my father's tired expression, at Mark's conflicted face. "I didn't do this," I said quietly. "You did, all of you, years ago." I picked up my purse. "I hope your wedding is beautiful. I truly do, but I won't be there." Gasps rippled around the room.
"You can't skip your own sister's wedding," my mother hissed. "I can, and I am." I walked out. The next morning, my phone was flooded. Texts, missed calls, voicemails. From my parents, from Lily, from relatives suddenly worried about family unity. I ignored them all. Instead, I went to work. 2 weeks later, Daniel invited me into his office and closed the door. Lily resigned. I blinked. "What?" He continued, unimpressed, which is corporate speak for "I don't like that I'm not in control." I exhaled slowly. "She won't be working with us going forward." I nodded. Understood. "She also told HR you were responsible." I met his gaze. "And?" He smiled. "HR asked for evidence. She had none." Relief washed through me, not because she was gone, but because the truth had finally held. That night, my father called. Not my mother, not Lily, him. "I didn't handle things well," he said. "No," I agreed. "I should have protected you more." I closed my eyes. "I don't need protection anymore," I said. "I needed respect a long time ago." He said quietly. We didn't fix anything that night, but it was the first honest conversation we'd ever had. The wedding happened without me. I saw photos online. Lily looked beautiful, smiling, perfect, like nothing had cracked. But I knew better. And more importantly, I didn't care anymore. I had my own life now, one built on truth, on earned respect, on peace. And for the first time, when I thought about my family, it didn't hurt. It just felt distant, like a chapter I'd finally turned the page on. The weeks after the wedding were surreal. I wasn't hiding from the world, I was building it. Every morning I woke up in my own apartment, poured a cup of coffee strong enough to jolt the city awake, and reminded myself that for the first time, I didn't have to ask anyone if I belonged. I just did. At work, things were moving fast. Daniel had made it clear from day one. I was in charge. Every meeting, every email chain, every decision was mine to guide. I loved it. Loved the adrenaline of managing people, loved the fact that I was no longer just a helper or behind the scenes. I was the one steering the ship. And then came the gala. Wright and Hale Industries was hosting a charity event, a massive black tie affair on the rooftop of a Manhattan skyscraper. The city skyline glimmered like a promise. I'd spent weeks preparing the strategy for the evening, coordinating guest lists, donations, logistics. This wasn't some trivial family dinner. This was my world, and everyone would see me in it. I arrived in a midnight blue dress that hugged me just right. Nothing flashy, nothing loud, just me, owning the space without shouting for attention. My heels clicked against the marble floor as I entered the room, scanning faces, checking arrangements. Colleagues greeted me with genuine respect, not fake smiles for social media photos. For once, people saw me for what I was, competent, capable, unstoppable. And then she walked in. Lily. Her dress was champagne gold, dripping in sequins, practically sparkling under the chandeliers. She looked perfect, but this time she wasn't the center of attention. The room was buzzing with donors, executives, and philanthropists. I had orchestrated the flow of the evening, and the spotlight was mine to direct. She couldn't steal it with a look or a laugh. I spotted her across the room and, for a split second, caught the familiar pang of irritation. Then I reminded myself, I wasn't here for her. I was here for me. The evening progressed flawlessly. I mingled with guests, facilitated conversations, and even gave a short speech thanking donors. The applause was genuine, warm, not a fraction of the condescension or forced cheer I'd endured at Lily's fake birthday or my missing graduation. I smiled, and it felt like sunlight. Later, I found myself outside on the terrace, overlooking the Hudson. The cold night air hit me, but I didn't care. I was alive. I was in my element. Daniel came up beside me, glass of champagne in hand. "You've got a real knack for this. You could run this company someday." I laughed, letting the sound echo over the city. One step at a time. Today, I just want to enjoy that people noticed me." He nodded. "They see you. All of you." And that's when my phone buzzed. It was a text from my mother. "Can we talk?" I stared at it, smiled, and ignored it, because for the first time in my life, I didn't need their approval. Not my mother's, not Lily's, not anyone's. The next morning, I woke early, still buzzing from the gala. I checked my emails and saw the report Daniel had sent. Donations exceeded expectations. My team had worked like a well-oiled machine, and I had led them. No one questioned my decisions. No one undermined me. Later that week, Lily called. I didn't answer. She texted, "I need to talk." I stared at the message. I could almost hear her voice behind the words, the old rehearsed tone of faux innocence. But I didn't respond, because I had learned something crucial. I could listen to her, I could care, but I didn't have to react. Work continued to flourish. I implemented new operational strategies, increased efficiency, and boosted employee satisfaction. People respected me not because I demanded it, but because I had earned it. I was building my own empire, and it felt damn good. Then came the opportunity I had been dreaming about without even knowing it. Luminaire Fashion Group, yes, the same company Daniel had teased me about months ago, offered me a chance to manage an entire regional operation. My own team, my own department, my own rules. I accepted without hesitation. This wasn't about Lily anymore. This was about me, fully claiming my life. A few weeks into my new role, I got a LinkedIn notification. Lily had posted about a work promotion. The caption read, "Excited to start my new chapter." I clicked on it. The details were modest, barely scratched the surface level. I smiled, not out of malice, but relief. She was finally learning that life doesn't revolve around performance for others. You can tell a story for attention, but truth always matters in the end. A week later, my father called. "I'm proud of you," he said simply. No preamble, no lecture, just the words I'd waited years to hear. "I know," I said, "and I don't need anything else." He paused. "Your mother, she's trying." "Trying?" I asked. "To understand, I think. She wants a relationship." I sighed. "Then let her prove it. I'll listen when she's ready." That night, I walked across my Brooklyn apartment, poured another glass of wine, and looked at the Manhattan skyline. Lights flickered across the buildings like stars fallen to earth, and for the first time, I felt completely at peace. No family drama, no fake accolades, no shadows of a sister I'd constantly been compared to. I was Harper Collins, 29 years old, fully independent, fully seen, and fully alive. I had learned something essential. You don't need validation from people who refuse to see you. You don't need approval from a family that counts appearances over achievements. You just need to carve your own table and invite yourself in. Lily called a few more times after that. I answered once, just once. "Harper," she said softly, I messed up. I didn't realize." I held up my hand. "I know, Lily, you're learning, and that's okay, but don't call me to fix your life. Call me when you've figured out who you are without needing an audience." She paused. Then, "Okay, I'll try." I hung up, and for the first time, I didn't feel guilt, not a shred, not a pang, just freedom. Weeks turned into months, my career flourished, my friends celebrated me, my weekends were mine. No hidden agendas, no competing shadows. I traveled, laughed, and finally, truly lived. Every once in a while, I'd see a family photo online, my parents and Lily smiling, my absence obvious, and I didn't flinch. I'd been there once, hoping for love and acknowledgement. Now I was somewhere better, where my work mattered, my voice mattered, and my life mattered. I poured one last glass of wine, set it down on my balcony table, and whispered to the city, "This is mine." The skyline sparkled, indifferent to my triumph, but I didn't care. I had claimed my place. I had built my empire, not for anyone, not to compete, not to prove a point, just for me. And that was everything. Because some stories aren't about family or recognition, they're about claiming your right to exist fully, to stand tall, and to never let anyone make you feel small again. And as I raised my glass one last time to the glittering city lights, I knew something. I was finally free. No more shadows, no more comparisons, no more hiding. Just me. Harper Collins, the daughter, the lawyer, the woman who refused to be invisible.
And if you liked this story, don't forget to subscribe for more dramatic, jaw-dropping stories just like this.